Hey folks, it's Rob. Welcome back to Prison Architect, How to Prison Architect series. This is part 3, and today we're going to be covering essentially holding cell and detention. We're going to get some prisoners in. Yep. And we're going to give them the essential basics. So we're going to start out with essentially where you're going to need to begin from here. Last time we covered the office and things like that. Now we're going to be moving into actually getting prisoners and housing them and supplying them with some of their needs. Okay? So, first off, site of location. Now your prisoners are going to come in on a truck and get dropped off at deliveries. Okay? So, that's your entry point. It's probably worthwhile to do a bit of planning. Okay? And set down a pathway. Let's say, now, if you put a path right here in the middle, the prisoners are probably not going to use it. They're probably going to end up moving down onto it. But, it's good to have, like, a decision point. So, we know prisoners are, like, going to come in, say, like, here, right? Now, you don't have to do things the way I've been doing it. Please feel free to do things the way you want to. What's really important is that we know prisoners are coming in from deliveries. You can move deliveries to be wherever you want. Prisoners are going to come in from deliveries and then have to go to a holding cell, which is essentially a starting structure. And let's give it a little bit of room, but also I'm going to make use of this over here for some of what I want, because I can easily enclose this off to become like a yard, right? And again, I like making use of the leftover buildings because it just interests me. So, why not? Now, if I were to make a room, let's say just hypothetically, just to start with, let's make it 24 by 24 square. Okay? There. No particular reason. I've just pulled that number out of my butt to put up. Okay? In fact, instead of planning it like that, let's set it so it's a lot closer to over here, right? That way there's a lot less travel to get in. Let's go with 26 by 26, because that just kind of fits naturally in the space. That's going to be my starting thing. And the holding cell's got to be 5 by 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the sixth one down and 6 over. That's a minimum size holding cell, okay? Now, depending on what you want to do, you may want a bigger holding cell. Certainly, it can be much, much bigger. I can make the whole thing a holding cell. But it can't be any smaller than 5 by 5. Okay? And it has to be secure, and it has to have a bench and a toilet. Okay? That's the bare minimum for the holding cell. I would recommend that you put some need things in there as well. Say like a phone booth, possibly a bed or two if they're going to be in the holding cell overnight, because prisoners whose needs aren't being satisfied are going to get rather uppity and annoyed by their situation and start damaging things. And damaging things costs you money, and next thing you know, there's injuries and people killing each other, and it's all gone wrong. So, let's make a larger holding cell, because I'm not going to be putting up any cells right away. So, my holding cell is also going to need shower access. Actually, let's get right to the grant, right? The grant's going to tell us exactly what we need. Basic Detention Center is the grant we're taking, okay? So, we need a holding cell, a shower, a yard, a kitchen, a canteen. We need to hire 2 guards, which actually I think I've already hired the necessary guards. Yep. And have at least 2 chefs to work in that kitchen. Now, as soon as I start time, it's going to recognize I have the guards. But if you didn't do it like I was doing, you'll still need to get the guards in. You need guards to operate the prisoners. The workers really don't want anything to do with the prisoners. That's not their job. It's not what they were hired for. That's the guard's job, okay? Okay. So, let's say this building's too big, okay? Again, just cut it down, you know? It doesn't have to be this big. Right. And just for planning purposes at the moment, I'm going to run that up like that. Okay? Right. So let's say they come in here. So there's like a double door, right? They come in, and I'll set a double door over here. Actually, no, I'm just going to have like a hallway down the way. Yeah, so let's have this be a hallway on down. Okay? That way prisoners are going back and forth inside here. And we'll have the holding cell as one section. We'll have the shower in a different section. And we'll set aside... Well, I mean, let's just put it all in the one building, right? Right. I mean, I like... No. See, personally, I prefer to have my kitchen canteen as a separate building. Because that way I only have to build it the one time, and it's a lot easier to expand the operation. Instead of having a kitchen canteen that's just for the holding cell. So actually, I'm going to put aside this design and revise it. Okay? What we're going to do instead, we're going to make it such that they are entering over here. I'm going to set aside a little bit of room for a cleaning cupboard for later on, for prisoners to work in. So I need at least 1, 2, 3 spaces for that, and a little bit of visitation won't hurt, or a common area, something like that. Most of this will be our holding cell. And I'm going to put a rather significant shower block here in the back. And yeah, 3 will do. Okay. So this is going to be a fairly kick-ass kind of holding cell, but I mean, it'll do our job the way we want it to. Right, we're going to need access ways to the shower room. That'll do. And we'll need a double door leading into the holding cell. And that will be fine, I think. Yes. Okay. So let's get our foundations. Choose the one you like, brick or concrete. And, box in your thing. I'm making a really large holding cell this time. If you don't want to make a really large holding cell, don't do that. It's a lot easier to get utilities into a structure before everything else goes in. So, electrical cable, I'm just going to run down here, right down the middle. I'm going to run it right to the wall where the shower is going to be. I don't actually need to run power into the shower. Large pipe. Run that off of my water station. And I'm going to run it down so I can actually feed that over here into my shower block. Okay? And because I know I'm going to need toilets as well, I'm probably going to put my holding cell toilets here so that they can be fairly close, and I won't need to put in more large pipe. This large pipe area over here would be an excellent place for me to put in my kitchen canteen later on. And I can run power down that way too. If you feel like it, you can always put in power switches to control power to sections. So like, ha 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 ha, I'm switching off the power, or I'm switching off the water. To you jerks, you can't stop me, I'm the warden. Up to you, okay? Annoying your prisoners is entirely up to you, but that's how you would do it. You would drop in those in line, and they would control the flow of utilities to those locations. So, while my workers are busy doing this, let's make it such that, hey, we need to get this done. So let's get some prisoners. And I'm just going to open it up to just some normal risk prisoners. Okay? And you can see 8 prisoners will come tomorrow at 8 a.m. in 13 hours. Which means I'm under the clock. I didn't have to do that. And if it doesn't look like I'm going to make it, maybe I'll put it off to the next time. Tomorrow. But this way, I'm under a time pressure, for you. Now, it requires an entrance, so I have to fit on... I'm going to use a large jail door so I can get a lot of prisoners through. There we go, and the workman fits that on, and then the building should flush in. There we go. Using materials, I will now put in brick wall like that. Brick wall there, this, and this, leaving the gaps for my doors. You don't have to, but it's wasted money, because they will just simply demolish that section of wall and put up the door or whatever it is you're going to be putting up. Okay? So, it's recognized my guards. Objects-wise, because this is going to be a shower, I'm going to put in drains to keep the water from flowing out into the rest of the holding cell. And I am going to need another large door here, which probably one of these will remain propped open as a normal state of things. This is going to be a regular door here. And again, remember, the rotate command is R, just so it has a door to keep it as a secure area. Things have to be individual secure areas, and I'm going to need to put doors on here as well after the drains have been fitted. But they're just going to be regular doors, because I don't actually want to keep prisoners out of the shower. But it won't recognize it as a holding cell if it's not secure. What we do know is we're going to need small pipe basically all over the place here, because I'm going to need to plumb in my shower heads, and I'm going to need to plumb in those drains, and I might as well get that going, right? Now you can see wood's being exported away. I didn't have to have an export area. I could have chosen to keep all the wood in storage for later on when I have a workshop. It would make me more money, but this makes me more money now. That's your decision. Alright, just wipe out my planning items here because I don't need them anymore. Alright, they're busy putting in their pipes. I'm going to want a regular door there and a regular door there. Now, a tricky thing about this is that once you have these doors there, if you lock them, they're going to be very hard to select the doors as over the drains. So, but you need to have this area secure for it to be recognized as a holding cell. Without it, it won't know that this whole thing here is a holding cell. And it'll go, nope, that's not a holding cell, it's not secure. See, right now it's not enclosed. And now it's enclosed. Now I need a toilet and a bench in there. The shower needs shower heads. That's all it needs. It doesn't actually need anything else, but I like to make, fairly nice things. Another thing is I like to put a toilet or two in my shower, because prisoners have to satisfy their needs, and they want to be able to, do their business. Now this is going to be a large capacity holding cell and shower arrangement, okay? This is not for just like having like a couple prisoners. This is to keep them for a while. So we need a bench here in the holding cell, and I'm just going to put it up over here, right in their path of travel. In fact, I'll put two of them in. And they need toilets as well. And the thing I like to do is just kind of put them over here behind a bit of a privacy wall. I mean, I only need one toilet for the requirement, but I put in several because I know that prisoners don't want to have to fight over the toilets. And I will put a little privacy wall in. Just 'cause. It's my own cosmetic thing. No requirement to put that in there at all. And I will actually put in some beds. That's why I made this place so big, because I have no intention of building cells until we make the next part of the video. So, what we can do is just go bam, 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 like so. Just fit them in. There. All 8 prisoners will now have a place to be, right? They can all sleep in a bed. They won't be anywhere near as cranky tomorrow. Now, I know I want that to be a cleaning room, and we're not covering prison labor yet, or all that stuff, but I'm just going to designate it as a cleaning cupboard so we all know it's there. Now, see how these toilets are flashing? They need their pipe as well. And I'm just going to run that over like that. And because I like to be a bit OCD about it, I'm going to run around the equal side there. And that gets our basic detention center in place. Okay? Now, next thing we're going to need is a place for those prisoners to go and actually, eat. And as you can see, we already put down a bit of a pathway here. And materials wise, I plan on expanding that a bit. So let's see, let's put down concrete tile like so, and just bring that in off of there. And right, I'm thinking we're going to put the canteen in right over here, right? And on this one, I'm just going to do on the fly, okay? So, right, let's see here. Let's put it adjacent to the existing structure. That way it's attached to it. And again, it's going to need an entrance. And I'm going to give it, basically this is going to be prisoner entrance, right? It's going to be one of my prisoner entrances. And as you can see, things are happening with getting that constructed. Again, plot your utilities in while it's under construction and things go easier. Right. Now this is both going to be kitchen and canteen. Okay? And I am totally going to make that so that I can use it for long term. So I'm going to overbuild the space. Okay, it's going to be more than what I absolutely require at any given time. Because, well, I mean, eventually I'm going to be having, hopefully, prisoners work in there, as well as staff. Now, you know how I was going to make this into a visitation area and such like that? Actually, it's a lot easier to make common rooms and visitation differently. So what we're going to do instead is actually just set out a couple solitaries to be able to hand out a punishment or two. Okay? Probably the easiest way to do that, actually, is they don't have to be inside. So having them outside is pretty workable. And probably don't want to be exactly by the front gate, but that'll be fine. We do see, this is why we do planning. Right, if I do that, and then that, and then that, and then that, yeah, that'll work. Okay. And then that'll be 3 solitary cells, and they each need a solitary door, right? But they only have to be 1 by 1 at bare minimum. You might want more, and we'll get into that later on when we're talking about like rehabilitation and things like that. But this will do for now. And solitary cells don't actually require any utilities or anything like that. Now, let's point out a big major flaw with our design so far. Right now, we're not secure. Okay? Prisoners who come in are completely reliant on their good behavior to not go make a run for one of the edges of the map. So that's something that needs sorted as well, and my material of choice for that is to actually just reach out for the fencing. Now, you don't have to do it this way, but this is how I generally will do it. I will put in a road gate. Just set it like so it's on straddling the road. And I'll put in another road gate. And then I'm going to fence those in as connections. So we go to materials and we go to fence. And bam, do that there. Run that over like that. Bring this all the way up over here. Connect it on and bring that over here. Now that secures the road, which is a starting point. Okay. Guards are going to have to open up those gates, but at least that way it stops prisoners from making a run for it. You're also going to need to be able to secure, say, like the operating area. So for right now, I'm just going to throw up some fences. And that way we have a secure block. Okay? You might not have existing structures to play with. Please just feel free to encase the whole thing in a fence as you wish. Now these little solitaries need to be designated as solitaries. So, bing, bang, boom. There's no requirement for you to have them, but if you want to be able to hand down punishments as part of policy, or even just as part of operating the prison, you need solitaries to be able to essentially punish these prisoners. And you can see lots of flashing lights because our electric's still being run in. There we go. Prisoners arrive in 4 hours. So, we need a kitchen, and we need a canteen. The kitchen, purpose-wise, you need at least 2 spaces for fridges and cookers, and 3 spaces for a sink. Right? So, it's convenient, in my opinion, to kind of run it so that I have a sink here, and then I can actually run things down the way. I also find it convenient to make gaps about a serving table length for things. Now, a serving table is 4 or 5, I forget. Here it is. It's 5. So, back here to materials. And then I'll give it a little extra space so I can put a bin next to it. And I'll have a door there so that, we can access into the area. And let's see, there's an R6. And our door. And R6. And that will do me for now. In fact, I'll just wall off this section back here. And I will possibly turn this into a little our cleaning area as well, just so prisoners are working there. The rest of this, though, is my canteen. Now, maybe perhaps I want my canteen to be accessible from 2 sides. Then, in which case, I will just wipe that out and have it accessible from over here as well. And that's fine. In fact, actually, that's an excellent idea. I'll keep the cleaning stuff for later. Right, so we designate that as a kitchen. Simple enough, But actually, since I haven't actually gotten the walls up yet, let's let it happen, because I didn't plan that. I just did this on the fly. I don't like having to do things multiple times. So, okay, now I know where the wall ends. Alright, so kitchen, like that, right? And then canteen, which, there it is, canteen. Just make all the rest of that canteen, right? And again, I'm just going to put some doors on here because I'm planning on prisoners working in there eventually. So instead of staff doors, I'm going to just put doors, right? And now we go into the objects here, and I want a sink, which I'm just going to put on either end. And I'm going to put in some cookers. And some fridges. Don't need a whole lot right now. I mean, it's just going to be 8 prisoners. But that'll get things started, right? Not efficient, but you can see I have a lot of room to expand. The canteen itself needs, as you can see, serving table, and bench. So the serving table I was talking about before, that's this here. And you've probably seen these before at school or something like that. They got the grate on the one side, right? They're not very expensive. They only cost 20, so I'm going to put all 3 in right now. I like having bins next to them. That way garbage can be disposed simply and easily. Now, we need to plumb in these utilities, and that needs water there. This is going to need water over here. And that's going to need electricity. Right. Tables and benches, right? So let's say I put in... Right, so there, I can't put anything there, but I can put something there. So I can have like bench, table, bench, right? So I have like bench, table. You can pack them in that tightly, actually. So you can see this canteen is going to be quite extensive, eventually. Oh, the road gate's going in, the fences are going up. Excellent. Okay. Serving trays are being delivered. We're going to need 2 chefs, and they get you go to staff, hire cook, 1, 2, right? And they'll get to work. You can see food gets delivered, that has to be moved in. The cooks actually go and collect food. So you need... It's good to have the kitchen fairly close to deliveries just so that can happen. And you hear the bells ringing because things get accomplished. So the kitchen looks like it'll be in place in time for the prisoners to arrive because they come in less than an hour. And it looks like our fences are going to be in place in time. Lucky us. So that leaves me with one more thing we need. A yard. Right? We need an exercise area for the prisoners to go to as part of our detention center grant. So we have to designate a place that is going to be used by prisoners to essentially stretch their legs and move around some. Now I can see here that I kind of have a natural space already lined up. And so I'm just going to fence off this section over here. Now I know there's a staff door to access the utility area. I'm kind of fine with that. They need a key to get in through that. Or if they're riding, they might break it down and get into the utility room. What are they going to get in there? They're going to disrupt power to the entire place, admittedly, but I don't care. I can make all this into a yard, so I'm going to do so. Large jail door right there. Again, my materials, just to improve mobility around, I'm going to put some concrete tile down. There we go. And over here. And put the paving slabs in the middle just to keep that aesthetically similar. Good, utilities are in place. Things are happening. Good, good, good. Prisoners are arriving. Here they are. Oh, they're our championship team today. Okay, so here we have Stone Lake, Moon, Young, Keller, Pity, Platter, Keevil, and Olson. And they are our star team today. Now you can see that they all have little speech bubbles on them. I want to speak to my family. I'm uncomfortable. I need a shower. I'm unsafe. These needs need to be satisfied, okay? If we mouse over the prisoner who we have selected, if we had psychologists on board, we'd get an idea what's motivating and moving John Moon, okay? But because we don't have a psychologist, we don't get that report right now. Let's go over his sheet, okay? So here we have John Moon's sheet. He's normal security. If I want him to be maximum security or minimum security, I can change that here. I can instruct that this prisoner be searched. I can have his cell searched. I can have the entire block that he's in searched. I can hand down a punishment to him on my own authority as warden. I can have him in lockdown for 6 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours. That's basically him shackled like he is currently. He's supposed to be in his cell during that time. He could be in solitary for 6 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours. That's this tiny little box right here I have out in the sun. So yeah, that's a bit more of a punishment. Under his biography will be something, some descriptive flavor text to tell you what he was put into jail for and about his family. He's got a father, 58, and he's been sentenced to 2 years for driving under the influence, so a DUI. He's had previous convictions, bribery and possession, which he's already served, and he put in a plea of not guilty to this one. He's currently served 0.6 years of 2 years. This here on the experience tab, breaks down his total experience in total the entire time he's been at your prison. So you can see he's been in lockdown the entire time. Well, that's true. He just arrived. Again, we have the options to search prisoner, search cell, and search cell block like we did before. His reform program history goes down here. We'll cover that later. We have activity, mood, and condition. Okay, so his mood is normal. He's neutral. He's not really been in a good or a bad mood the entire time so far. His condition, like knocked out, ill, injured, those will show up here. Okay, and then we have grading, and that indicates how his first off, how his treatment has been reflected so far. So, like, he's got punishment 10, 100% of stays locked up. I mean, this is not going to be reflective of ongoing stats, but we're just covering this right now. Reform 0 has had no reform programs efforts on him whatsoever. Security, 100% of his stay locked up. Yeah, he's secure. And his health is -4. He apparently has an active addiction, which we don't know what it is yet. It might be drugs, it might be alcohol, and he'll be wanting to satisfy that need by obtaining those substances. And without a reform program, he's not going to be able to crack that himself. The only other thing you can really do is make him do cold turkey. You could lock him up in a holding cell for 24 hours, and he might die. And you need to send a doctor to resuscitate him. But if he doesn't die, he might be able to kick his addiction. Right now, based on his experiences, he's very likely to reoffend at 56%. Now, this would be reduced by harsh, strong punishments or successful reform programs. It's increased by poor health and security or untreated drug and alcohol addictions. So he is currently addicted, so hence he has a high reoffending rate. If we go over here to Stone Lake, his reoffending chance is 27, and he's had exactly the same experiences. Age is also a factor. Moon is 33, and Stone Lake is 37. So I don't know. Oh, there's a bladder demand. He needs to go. These prisoners will be processed by my guards into the holding cell, and then they will be allowed to do what they're supposed to be doing based on the regime, which is the itinerary here. Currently, my regime, and you can play with this, says right now it's shower time. Then they're back in lockup, which means they have to hang out in their cell. Then it's free time. They get to do whatever they want with the facilities within prisoner areas. Then it's back to lockup again, which means they're back in this cell. Then they get to eat, so they get to go to the canteen. Then they get to go to the yard. Then they're back in the cell again. Then they get an hour of free time. Then they're back in the cell again. Then they get to eat. Then they're back in the cell, and then they get that's sleep time, lights out, right? Lockup's fine, but I generally prefer to manipulate free time to reflect more efficient layout. So, like, you wake up and you go to a shower, right? And you get plenty of time for getting your shower in. And then later on, this will be taken up with work, right? But right now, I'm going to give you plenty of yard time. And then you're going to eat, yard time, and then give you free time before you have to go eat again after some lockup, and then put free time there. Okay, that's very generous, but later on we're going to be putting a lot of work in here. So right now we're just going to have fun, because work is a thing, but right now the prisoners have nothing to do. Okay, so, and something else we can do in the regime is once we have different types of prisoners, we can set regimes for like minimum, medium, and maximum security. So like you could have minimum security do one thing, medium security does a different thing, and maximum security does their own thing. And that will break this up into sections. Okay? Here we have policy. We don't have policy yet, so we don't get to address that. We need a psychologist to see the needs. These are the jobs as listed before previously. We've talked about the last things. Programs, we can't do any of these yet until we have prisoner education, but I mean, once we have that going on, or the other requirements for these, like mental health, prison labor, education, then we can start instituting programs. Those cost money. We'll cover that in a later part. Here's our finance report from our accountant. So you can see 2,000 is coming in from our federal grant. We get 800 from our prisoner grant. Workman wages is 800, guard wages is 500, administrator wages is 400, and staff wages is 200. $96 was spent on food. There's been no days without incident, but we had no days yet. Exports yesterday was $700. That was the wood we exported, and corporation tax is currently at 30%, $451. So our total, 3,500 in, 2,447 out. That's 1,053 net profit a day, but that does include the $700 right here. So you might want to keep that in mind, that sometimes the total amount in isn't necessarily sustainable. And check the report. So, let's start time again. The prisoners are going to start getting processed in. You can see guards have collected them, and they're taking them in. They're going to uncuff them once they're in the holding cell, and the prisoners will start following the regime. See, like Platter's no longer cuffed, and he's moving around in here. He's like, well, do I want a shower? I don't have to have a shower. I guess I'll have a shower. So he goes down here, opens the door, goes to have a shower. Well, he's in the shower room. He's like, okay, well, it's free time now. I don't need a shower, so I'm going to do what I want. Keller's on free time. He's like, oh, I'm going to use the shower toilet. Yeah, Platter's like, that's an excellent idea. Let's all use the shower toilet. And Keeler's like, I'm going to have a shower. Screw you guys. See how the water spreads? Because I put these drains here. The water will not spread outside the room. Now, things about yards, right? First off, let's designate the room as a yard, okay? Okay, so that's my yard, this whole area out here. And I know, in a better world, this door would not be on this side, but right now, this is what we're doing. The yard's not complete. It has to be a minimum 5 by 5. We got that. It has to be secure behind a door. We have that. And when I started time, it's acknowledged that that is complete. But I would highly recommend that you do more to your yard than this. Okay? It needs to be... You need to satisfy prisoner needs to keep them satisfied. If you just provide them with an empty space to move around in, you've met the requirement. Admittedly, you've met the requirement and I've been paid. You can see my bank balance is up. But, first off, you know how I could put some toilets in the shower? I would recommend you have some toilets in your yard. Because prisoners who gotta go, okay? And being able to satisfy that keeps them happier. And again, because I'm a nice guy, I tend to like put privacy walls in and things like that. And we'll put up a little concrete privacy wall. Okay. And another thing is they're going to want some entertainment. We'll cover that under our grant coming up. But the toilets are very important. And if you don't have enough room for them to run around, I would really advise that you get in some exercise benches, because then they can work out on those. These weight benches don't take up a lot of room and allow prisoners to work on those instead of having to just circulate. Exercising can be good for them. So just put in a couple. I like to. No reason to do so. You can knock down the trees in there or leave them up. That's up to you. Okay, so you can see guards are like letting stuff in and letting stuff out, and people are working on the things that they need to work on, and it's free time right now, so like people are just kind of milling about. There isn't a lot of services for them to do things with. Again, I would recommend in your holding cell to have at least one phone booth. That way prisoners can call home. Being able to call home makes them much, much happier and easier to deal with. Another thing is also good for free time is a television somewhere, but I'm not doing that right now. Again, we'll cover that kind of stuff under our next part, I believe, when we're looking at health and well-being. Okay? So, let's just run it through its paces for a little bit, and then we'll finish the episode. Now, you can pretty this up. You can, put down sand or grass or whatever you want to do. And again, a nice place here would be for another place for some more solitaires if I want them. And you can see the prisoners have to wait for guards to open the jail doors. So it's like, okay, yard time, go across to the yard. And we're in the yard now. And they're just kind of milling around because there isn't much else to do in the yard. They want recreation. They want to speak to their families. I haven't given them any recreation other than just milling about in the yard. If I'd put in some pool tables or a TV, that might be able to satisfy that. Some of them are hungry. They haven't eaten. Fortunately, meals are ready, standing by here on the serving table. Looks like it's cabbage today, kids. Numb. Bacon at dinner, though. Cabbage with a side of cabbage. Well, at least it satisfies your hunger. And they're done eating, so we're still required to be in the canteen, so that's what they're doing. They're staying in the canteen. Then once that time's over, they'll do the next thing on the regime, which I think is yard time again. Yeah. See, they use the toilets because, they develop these needs over time. But they're just milling around. There's plenty of room for them to mill around in. They don't actually need to use the exercise benches at the moment, so they're not doing so. They're having a chat about, like, oh, I miss my family, I miss having, like, TV. Yard time's just about over, so we're going to be moving on. Yep, back to lockup, so get back in your cell, kids. Now, once I've actually done deployment, I'll be able to station guards at places to make this more efficient and to keep an eye on things. Like right now, because I have no guard in the holding cell, I have no idea what the prisoners are doing in there. But they're on their free time, so they can go have a shower or use the phone in here or have a nap or use the toilet, If these doors were open, they'd be free to move to other parts of the prison and use facilities in the other parts of the prison. Now, apparently a prisoner is hungry, but we have plenty of meals, and everyone gets to eat again soon. As you can see, it's bacon and potatoes. Numb. Much better than the cabbage we had for lunch, I think. Now, if I leave intake on, I'll get another 8 prisoners tomorrow. And it might be a different number, but I'll definitely, at the moment, get 8 prisoners tomorrow at 8 a.m., unless I change things. So keep that in mind. Prisoners keep coming in. And the more prisoners you have crammed into the same space, the more difficult it's going to be for them. Right, let's have a look at their experience things now. So let's visit Olson here. So Olson, not feeling severely punished. He's got 2 points for 5 years served. 16% of his stay was locked up. He's had a lot of free time. Security, small part of his stay was locked up. And health-wise, he's had 29% of his stay exercising, so that's good. Estimated reoffending chance is only 13% for him. You can see lockdown, regime, exercise, free time. Mood is normal, and everything's Has committed grave crimes against humanity, including singing out loud, drunken dancing in public, and exposing others to toxic coffee breath. Oh, dear Olson. 14 years for false imprisonment. Oh, dear, 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 dear. And now it's free time, but it's also holding cell time. Smarter ones will go to bed when there's limited numbers of beds. I'm going to send a guard in here. You can just instruct them to do so. And he has a look, and they say, oh, they all went to bed on their free time. So they're all in bed, and that's what they're going to do all night. They're basically going to sleep until they get up. So, that's that. That's your basic holding cell, kitchen, canteen, detention center stuff. Okay? Don't have to do it like this. This is just how I did it, but I've talked you through it, and hopefully you understand well enough what we're doing that you can play with this the way you want to. Join us next time when we move on to health and well-being. So we're going to get into psychology and prisoner comfort and the infirmary and that kind of thing. Okay? So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.